Hey everybody, this is Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, along here with Doug.
Hi.
So Doug, you made the incredibly adult, fiscally responsible,
Yeah,
intelligent decision to throw $500 down and get yourself a PSVR.
I did. Absolutely did.
How on earth are you feeling about that choice 3 days in?
I'm feeling really, really good. Yeah, basically I made the decision because I've been playing, games for like a number of years, and we've gotten to the point where like the games we used to play have gotten about the best they can ever be. Like I think pretty much any game you thought of as a kid is now possible. Grand Theft Auto looks like really, really good. All these games just look like amazing, and like I feel like we've pretty much hit the peak of like where we're gonna be as far as traditional games go. And when I played VR for the first time, I sort of realized like, oh wow, this is like something totally different. It's not even something I could readily compare to video games, and I think it's actually really bad that they're reviewing VR games as normal games because they're completely different experiences when you're actually playing them. So basically, I decided it's like, you know what, looking ahead, like there's these games that I'm kind of excited for, like Last Guardian, but really, I think games are amazing now. I think they're actually the best they've ever been. I just kind of want to try something different, and this is something very different. It's something so incredibly different, so left field that, like I said, it's hard to compare to like normal games. I would say, actually, I was trying to think about this because when I first get when you first get the console and everything like that, it comes with a demo disc, and it's probably the best demo disc I think I've ever played. I've played hundreds of demo discs. This is easily the best demo disc. It's a triple A demo disc, if that makes any sense. um, but anyway, as I was playing these games, it honestly the only thing I was like having like these weird flashbacks of like like you have like kind of like awoken to memories sort of thing. That sounds really pretentious. I understand
Yep,
that, but
for
like
sure.
but actually, the thing I could like, kept going back to was playing PlayStation 1 and N64 for the first time. When suddenly games were in 3D and you had to like completely rethink how you're playing games,
Oh
like
yeah.
that's what this feels like. It is totally different. It's definitely a new step. It's a
So
step in like, oh, sorry.
So how then? Like what makes this different? Because I mean, I played like the Battlezone demo at a Best Buy like 2 months
Mm-hmm.
ago, but that's all I've played with this. So what makes this so much different other than just the way that you're looking at it? Because essentially, like playing Battlezone, I'm still doing everything I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at it from a new perspective. How does that? How is this a huge leap forward when it's just a change in perspective, essentially?
Because it feels like it's not just a change in perspective. It's not like you suddenly just got really close to the TV. Like it really does change how you feel about the games. Like when you're like literally sitting inside them. Like a good one is like Until Dawn. I played the demo of that. A lot of these stuff I played demos of. The only game I actually bought was PSVR Worlds, which came with the launch bundle, and I also got Thumper, which probably do a full review of, and I also did got the VR Playroom, which I messed around with a bit. Until Dawn is just like an on-rail shooter, but there is something very it really really changes like your emotions when you're actually like inside it. When you play games, you sort of have this like mindset when you're playing games. Like there's a separation between you and the game that you're comfortable with. Like you can run around shooting bad guys in Call of Duty and have a lot of fun, but like in this one when they're shooting back at you, it like you feel like somebody is shooting at you. There's a scene in one of the PSVR demos called the London Heist, which I think it's pretty high profile. I think a lot of people play that one. There's a point where a guy is pointing a gun in your face, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable with the guy pointing a gun in my face. But like that scene, like okay, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 opens with like your guy getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
Is that something like that? Like that scene in VR is going to feel very, very, very different than what you did when you played it on a TV screen 10 years ago. It's just like every sort of action that happens in a game now has a lot more impact. Um, I'm trying to think of games where like you can sort of feel the impact of the bullet. Like Black is probably a good one. Black was this old first-person shooter that came out maybe 2004, I guess. And the big thing was is the guns had really realistic sounds. And when you shoot the gun, even now when you shoot the guns in that game, they feel really powerful. But it's like every single movement in VR feels like has that sort of impact. It's kind of exhausting. Um, like because it's such a roller coaster ride constantly of like a guy pointing a gun in your face in your body, you feel like a guy is pointing a gun in your face. When like something shakes, like when a house falls down or something in whatever game, or a tank shoots at you, like there's something in your brain reacting like there is a tank shooting at me. There's that because it kind of just removes that separation. So I think if like we go back and like look at like certain games you could go back to and replay in VR, like they're gonna be very different experiences. Like I can't even imagine what a Call of Duty is gonna be like in VR. It's not like some sort of you're not purposefully reacting to these things. It's just like your body just feels like it's in danger. It puts you into fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
which is really crazy. And it's kind of funny because I think people are saying it's like you can really only play this 20 minutes at a time. And I was thinking it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Now I'm gonna play the thing out for like 2 hours straight, 3 hours straight. But really, like because your emotions and your body's just kind of going crazy doing these things, it's like you really can only play for about 20 minutes. And it's not because of nausea, it's not because of whatever. It's like 20 minutes of roller coaster rides. And can you really do 20 minutes of roller coaster rides?
So essentially, it's not changing the games per se. It's just changing the way that you feel, and it's changing that feeling of what the games feel like and how they're affecting you as you're playing them,
Yeah.
more so than being this new revolutionary way to play things.
Yeah, no, yes, but I think that is almost a bigger change in games than like 2D to 3D.
I could see
Um,
that, yeah.
because I mean 2D to 3D was kind of a huge jump. It was like huge. It was like the biggest jump I think gaming ever had. But really, it was like a new way to control, a new way to explore the environment. But I would say like your sense of wonder about games was still the same. Like your body wasn't like wasn't reacting differently to those games. It's like, oh, this is really neat now. We're now in 3D. It's like this cool explorable space. But now, like when you're in it, it adds like it's kind of like you know how Connect and Wii Motion is like, oh, it's supposed to have your whole body in motion,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Like it does that. Like that's what this is. But it's not just like your arms and your legs and stuff. It's like it's messing with your emotions. Like being stalked by a character in VR is effing horrifying. Like it feels like you are being stalked by a person in real life. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a hard thing to explain again unless you've played VR for a long time. And it just sounds and like I think people who are really into gameplay centric games, like if the only games you play are like need to be completely technically competent and and gameplay centric, like I only play Mega Man, the best games that ever came out were on Super Nintendo. Like you're just not gonna like this. Like
Yeah.
it's not you're not there are a lot of different types of people who play games. Like if you're a person who's just completely mechanics, like you're not gonna enjoy this as much.
But I think
But
that's
if
the
you
same when you look at motion controls and things like that. It fit the same
mhm.
bill of, you know what, this isn't trying to revolutionize and change the classic idea of a video game. It's this added
Yeah.
on this new experience with it. So
Mhm.
you mentioned 20 minutes at a time. Is that like, because I guess that's one of the things that my biggest concern with this is I feel like I will get it, only be able to use it for like a half hour, need to put it down for 3 hours, come back to it 2 days later, play for 30 minutes, just because I know that it's supposed to be incredibly intense. And
Uh-huh.
then I'm also slightly worried about like a couple of places, not a ton of places really haven't touched on this, but like motion sickness type things as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things like if you get do you I mean, I guess I'm talking to the audience I guess at this point. If you get motion sickness or like you're worried about motion sick because I don't get motion sickness. I get like car sick a little bit, but if you're worried about motion sickness like I would say $500 is not worth a gamble if VR doesn't work with you. VR just straight up does not work with some people.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. So it's something you might want to try first. But the intensity aspect to me it's a weird experience because it feels like every time I put it on, like I'm going to like a carnival or like an amusement park. And I mean, I know it
Yeah.
sounds silly, but like Until Dawn, like you're literally in a haunted house ride, like
Yeah.
a very R-rated haunted house ride, a very very M-rated haunted house ride. So it's like, and like when you're playing the VR demo, like you're switching between all these different experiences. Like one, I was like doing a puzzle box thing, which was not, which was amazing. Then I didn't play Resident Evil. I don't think I could handle that one. But then like like you're flying through space, or Evalkyrie, you're literally flying through space. Battlezone, you're like in a tank. And you're constantly switching, and it feels like literally emotionally, I can only compare it to being on like going to an amusement park. So like every time I put this thing on, like I need to be ready to be like go to amusement park. So that's why I'm saying like it's that sort of intensity, and it's not and this could vary for like different people, of course. But I think it was just that especially because the demos and just how I play games, like to play like a ton of different games at a given time, that it was really strange, like switching between these completely different experiences, like one after one after the one after one after the other. And like really the only thing I compare it to is like Disney World or Cedar Point or something like that. So that's the intensity. Like I can't even think of a game I'd want to play for 3 hours. Like playing Until Dawn, like oh my god, I had real trouble getting through that demo. Really hard time getting through that demo because it was such a um like intense experience because I guess Until Dawn specifically. So like when you're on haunted house rides, it's a haunted house ride. That's what it is. It's based on that. Like if you've ever been
Yeah.
to what's the Disney one? Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
It's Haunted Mansion, but if you go to the Haunted Mansion or pretty much any amusement park ride, there's sort of a like there's like animatronics and stuff that they're kind of fake.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
like yeah, like the physics are bound by the real world in those rides. Like you can't have a real monster there. You can't have like real people coming out to attack you and stuff like that. They're it's a projector screen or it's something
Yep.
like that. But you're near VR, they're not limited by that. So it's a haunted house ride with no limitations of physics. Or so like when the monster comes out of you, it looks like a real living, breathing monster. When there's like a zombie in your face, it's like it's a highly detailed zombie thing that moves and reacts like a zombie. It's not an animatronic. Um, so it's that sort of thing that makes it just a little bit more intense. It's because it's like it fills your vision like the real world, but it's not the real world. It's not bound by it.
Yeah.
So constantly flipping through those different types of experiences is like it's intense. It just is. Really cool though. I do like it.
So
Yeah.
motion controls or regular control or like the dual shock, like does it make a huge difference? Have you done both at this point, or because I've only done the VR demo I did was Battlezone, and I've never used the move controllers with it at all.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I'm gonna say a little bit with the move control. Like I think pretty much the only thing I really did with the move control so far was mess around with the London Heist demo, and I like them. They're very they do make it a lot more like a much more immersive experience. It is a fun thing, but I haven't played a game yet that I was like um that I'd want to play a whole game with move controllers yet.
So
London Heist is like a fun demo, but it's like it's a lot of moving around. It takes a lot of moving around. So I like using the. I think I'm just used to the traditional controller. I think the VR stuff it just feels so new in like a number of ways. Like having the controller in my hand, it's like I understand this thing.
There is something that I still having this in my hand still makes this so that this is a completely realistic experience.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it is nice to like kind of keep that. So I think right now I prefer the controller just because it just makes sense to me. Oh, something that's really cool is all the games use the controller very differently. A lot of them like to show you the controller in 3D space,
Mm-hmm.
but they do it in different ways. The PSVR Playroom, oh my gosh, it's so cool. You collect, there's parts where you collect little robots, and then because your controller is not a real controller in VR space, like they hang out in your controller, like your touchpad is now like a screen door where like your little robots hang out. And then try to think like Super Hypercube, when you hold the controller, it looks like a hologram.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then like some other games they look different, and like they'll show like it's like here, please hold your controller up so we can demogrify it or something like that. It's basically so like the camera can see it.
Yeah.
But when you hold it up to whatever position it's in, then you see your controller like shift and warp and change into whatever controller they want you to have for that game.
That's kind of cool.
It's super cool. I really like it a lot. I don't even know if I talked about the game so far. God, there's so much to talk about. The thing that's crazy too. When I first played VR, I guess I didn't really do a lot of research into how much VR stuff was going to be out the first day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's like just including free stuff. I'll include demos. I'll include like a single demo as a single experience. I'd say different experiences, like 30.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Something like that. Yeah, so like it's just like I feel like my talk is sort of like bouncing around a bit, but there's just like a lot to absorb. Like I watched a short film in 3D, and that was really neat because it's like basically like a little kind of claymation scene, and you can like look in really close and like watch the characters walk around and things like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then again like Resident Evil, like getting stabbed in the chest, or Rez flying through space, or
Yeah.
or Thumper. Oh, Thumper. Oh my God. We'll talk about Thumper later. Like, okay, if I can give any advice about this whole thing, I think PSVR is worth it, and Thumper should be a game you should buy immediately. Like, just no question about it. The game's amazing. We'll do it. I want to do a full. I've played about half of it, but I'd rather do like a full
Yeah.
in-depth review later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you messed around with any like the bonusy extra features? Like, have you played like a non VR game on the headset? Have you done like the cinema mode or any of that kind of stuff?
I mean, yeah, I messed around with it a little bit. Cinema cinema mode to me doesn't really. I think the luster of playing games on a really big screen is kind of gone now. I think when we were younger, it was a huge because not everybody had big screen TVs. Like
Yeah.
big screen TVs were like a thing only like it's not a thing. It's not a thing a lot of people had. But now
Yeah.
big screen TVs are so ubiquitous that like having a bigger screen is not to me is like it's okay. It's like yes, it's like playing games on a very large screen.
So how does that work? Like, how does that work when you put the headset on? Does it just like I guess I don't understand like how that works. Like I don't
Okay.
understand what am I looking at when I'm looking at this quote unquote big screen that's you know what I'm
When
saying?
when you put on the screen, okay, the environment you're in, I guess, is entirely black.
Hmm.
And then your screen size, it's like you're not like a movie theater seating or anything like that. It's just like your normal PlayStation home screen.
Yeah.
It's just like 5 times as big to the point like if I want to look at the top left corner, I'd actually have to like turn my head just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
If I want like the bottom right, I have to turn down just a little bit. So it's just like it's kind of like playing in a movie theater. I guess is probably the best way to describe it. But it's just a really big screen. So to me, I don't care about that stuff. I will like literally never use it. I could see some people using it just for the novelty of it, and just because like this is like a well known thing. The PSVR headset is not super high resolution.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So it's kind of like their games just don't look as good.
Yep.
So I don't know why you do that. It's like you can see your games like blown up really big. Nah. Okay. I like that is something like I think like playing games in a movie theater was like something like in high school you could do like maybe once.
Yeah, yep. You had like
Maybe,
that one weird chance where somebody had a projector somewhere that somewhere or
yeah.
other you hooked the PS2 into, and
Yeah, exactly. And like and that experience is neat, but I just think that's sort of like one of those things of the past that I just don't. I personally don't. I'm
yeah.
sure other people might pine for, but I just nah. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, especially at other feature stuff, the PlayStation VR Playroom. They actually had the Playroom for. It's like every time they come out with like a new technology, they always have like some like weird tech demo stuff you can play.
Yeah.
The PlayStation VR Tech Room is probably the best thing I've played in VR.
Why?
The free app. It's really cool. Every single game that they have on the VR Playroom is meant for 2 or more players. So I have the headset on, and then my girl. Okay, so like I'm trying to think of a good example of one. Okay, there's one where I am playing a giant monster, and I have to like knock over buildings with like smacking my head forward. And then she plays like a little robot who runs around the ground trying to dodge the blocks that are like knocking as I knock them down on top of her. And
Oh, that's
then
kind of cool.
and then at the end of the level she throws stuff at me and then I have to like literally like move out of the way kind of thing. But there is I might do a separate video on this entirely. I think a lot of people are talking about this too. There is a platforming level in that game, in that sort of like VR suite, and it is absolutely incredible. It's like Nintendo level quality platforming, and
Really?
like you're like, and what happens like, so you have like the little robot who runs around that you control, but your controller is also part of the mechanics. So like you hold out the controller and like, so you need to slide your controller forward, and you can like make grapple hooks and stuff for your little guy to jump on. It does all these like really neat things with VR that like I didn't know you could do in VR, and it really feels like if like as far as platformers and like the future of like cartoony games and stuff, like that was absolutely incredible. It was yeah, it was probably one of my favorite experiences was the platforming level because it just showed like if you just take these really simple gameplay mechanics like they're used to and then
Hmm.
do them in VR, they do feel entirely new. Like because you're not just because of that perspective, but like being in a cartoony world is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. It's like a
Oh, yeah.
surprising amount of fun. But yeah, this is a bit rambly, but like there's just a lot of stuff to talk about, and I think in the future we're probably gonna do some more separate videos. Like I want to do a Thumper review. I might do a thing on just the PlayStation VR room, and I'm probably gonna pick up Batman. Everybody
I was
keeps
gonna say I
talking
can't
about
believe you don't
Batman.
have Batman. Like that's the one thing that like this entire thing. The only like 90% of the reason I want VR is to play the stupid Batman thing. 'Cause it sounds incredible.
Yeah, and everybody I hear, everybody says it's I might as well just get it. It's only $20. I might just download it after we're done talking about this. You know what it is though? I spent $500. It's really hard to justify an extra 20. It's like, let me try some demos and see what I actually want.
Yeah.
Because the games are not cheap. Not all of them.
No.
Battlezone is $60.
Yeah.
Should be $40.
Yeah.
Riggs is $50. Batman's only $20. So now as we're talking, it's like, I should probably get Batman.
So out of all the ones you played so far, what is the one that you sit down and go like, okay, if I'm going to show somebody VR, this is what they need to see?
Oh my god. Totally depends on the person. Completely depends on the person. I think a good one is I know people say this one like a lot, but it is the Until Dawn one. The Until Dawn is like, because it does that familiar experience of like being on a roller coaster thing, and then does this weird twist on it, and that'd probably be the one I could readily show people is like, this is what VR is. And that one I had to go through once or twice. I stopped it 2 or 3 times trying to get into it because it was too freaky. And I think that's a really good one to show people. That one, Rez was a little disappointing. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you exactly why, because I think it's a game that wasn't designed for VR from the ground up. You are still flying through the world, but it's like Rez 2 VR, like Rez VR specifically, could be an amazing game. Like if they built a new Rez with just that.
With that in mind.
Yeah, and they're kind of hinting at that as well. But yeah, I think the Until Dawn one. That's probably the easy recommendation. I played a little bit of Riggs. Riggs is very confusing. I need to play more Riggs before I can talk about that one. That one's really cool though, because you do feel like you're in a giant battle mech suit. Very confusing gameplay though. Like you are the ball. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I think Riggs is probably another one just like as far as like experiences go of just cool. And I think the short film I'd have to sit down with somebody like for an hour and show them like all the different things, because there's just so much. There's so much different stuff you can show them, and like anything I've played so far, I have not been disappointed by anything I've played. Just because they all feel so radically different. There's nothing I've played so far that's like I could easily spend buying any of these things, and it's really hard just to point out. It's like, hey, that's the one, and it's just because they feel so new. I think they're so hard to compare to like just games and stuff like stuff I've done before.
Yeah.
That they all feel not equally, but they're just so different that it's like really hard to compare. Like this is the best one. This is the best one. Probably VR Worlds is probably like the most user friendly one though. I mean that whole thing's designed. Yeah, that in the Playroom, or Until Dawn, or Riggs.
Or anything
on the demo does. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of wrap this up here.
Yeah.
Do you feel 3 or 4 days into this, do you feel like this is the gimmicky motion controls thing where everybody's going to be blown away for about 6 months that this is possible, and then it gets pushed to the wayside? Or is this something that you think is going to be here to stay and slowly evolve into more of a not necessarily replacement way to play games? So I think traditional games will always have some place, but do you think this is going to get to the point where you have games like Call of Duty and those things that are built specifically for the VR platform?
I hope. I don't want to say, like, to me, I would be completely okay if this is how games were for like ever. Like right now, like I'm not excited for Horizon. I'm not excited for God of War. Like I am more interested in VR stuff than I am for any of those games coming out. Even Last Guardian, like as much as I love that, it's like, okay, that'll be fun. But like, I would love if games go in this direction, and then they stay. I mean, I think there's always room for traditional games, but I'd be okay if the AAA space started moving this way, because I don't know, because I always felt like I described this before, like Wii controllers and Kinect, like you still have that same experience of playing games, but you're just moving around a little bit more now. And then this one, it's like the entire experience of playing the game is just radically different. And like I said, like really the only thing I could compare it to is like playing PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 for the first time. It feels like that new and that like monumental and game changing. Like I don't want to go back. Like, I feel like this is I hope this is the start of something big. Because yeah, I don't want to say this is the future of games, because I don't know. It depends if it goes off or not. I would love for it to be the future of games. Because like I said before, I think not AAA, just games in general are sort of, we're not running out of ideas, but I think it's just good to sort of like stir the pot again and have people start rethinking how we should look at games. So yeah, I hope this is the way games are going. I would be completely content if they're like, every game from now on till the end of time, well, not the end of time, every game from now on is now VR. And everyone's like, boo, that's expensive, because it is. But I think just the experience wise, yeah, I would be totally content if I just never played another non VR game again. Well, probably not. Depends on Bloodborne 2 and
Ugh,
Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, there's a few games I'm still waiting on. But yeah, no,
interesting though.
I think it's. Mhm.
I can't picture sitting here like this thing must be like I can't sit here and go I'm not excited for Horizon because I'd much rather play the 2 hour long Until Dawn roller coaster ride.
Yeah,
That's so mind boggling to me that like I don't know that you're putting these things on the same scale like this. I
mhm.
don't know.
They're so different. I think that's just what it is. It's like it's hard to compare. Like I think when you see a review for a VR game, you should take it with a huge grain of salt because it's not going to review as well as a normal game because mechanics wise they're not going to be as good, but the experience is just so radically different that I don't think you could just compare them. So I think yeah, I can still be excited for Horizon, but this is just this brand new shiny thing that I'm just much more interested in.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see like 6 months from now because I remember having that same feeling when I played the Wii like or
Hmm.
even like the Kinect the first time of being like this is incredible like
Yeah.
I was more impressed by the Kinect than I was with the Wii when I first got it but like I remember sitting there playing what was that game called Child of Eden and
Hmm.
just sitting there going like okay I can just kind of like push like all of my things and like doing all this stuff and it was like whoa this is crazy this is so cool like I
Yeah.
love like this is way more fun than like sitting down and playing Gears of War. But
Hmm.
after that 6 month time period kind of came and went, it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool to do for a couple of minutes, but like
Hmm.
really realistically speaking, just give me my damn controller and I'll be much better at this and have much just as much of a good time. So I'm
Yeah.
very curious to see like come October
Hmm.
15th, 2017, where VR is sitting and how people are feeling about it.
I think the difference is they did give you the damn controller.
That's true, I guess.
That's a huge like that's a really important point to make. Is like they still have the you still have the controller for like pretty much every game I played had the controller. Like even the motion ones like said you could use a controller if you wanted to. Um, but yeah, I think because it still has that like I said that groundedness. Like I have a controller in my hand, I understand this. Like this could, if you want to break it down in simplest terms, this is just changing the camera.
Yeah, and that's again, that's where my thing is like you keep talking about this like this revolutionary thing, and I'm just like, okay, you just changed my camera perspective. Like I can't,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
But what I'm saying is that I think it's a minor change too. You could still do that traditional gameplay if you wanted to.
Yeah,
It's not like Connect you like couldn't do any traditional gameplay because you need to be moving around and waving. Well, this
yep,
one still like you have the option of doing either. So I think that's what's gonna hopefully give it longer legs. And I really do hope this thing sells well, which is kind of like I hate saying shit like that. But I just hope that VR catches on. I think it's really I think it's just an interesting tech
yeah,
in a number of ways. And like if it does, this is gonna be like a revolutionary thing. If
yeah.
it catches on. If it doesn't, then this will be like a really sad note of like things that could have been cool.
Hmm.
But if it does catch on, this is gonna change a lot of things. Not PSVR. I'm just saying VR in general is gonna change a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Not just I think seeing where it goes, not even inside the space of video games, but expanding outward from that could be really crazy as well.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
So we will have much more VR stuff over the next couple weeks as
Hmm.
Doug plays through some games, get some specific reviews up for different things. But
Yeah.
first impressions sounding pretty incredible. So
Yeah. 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 I hate the price tag. I think I hate that it bars a lot of people from getting it. I guess that's my only complaint.
yep, because that's the only reason I don't have it right now is that's about $200 more than I want to pay for it at the current moment.
Yeah.
So
No, that's okay.
anywho, we are Workforce Gaming. You know, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Leave us a comment, send us a message, whatever it may be, and we will see you later.
Bye.